The following program on PBS 39 is made possible in part by
Excellence lives here in northeastern Indiana. It's reflected in more than 200 nationally recognized degrees. It drives our Division I sports. It's alive in our campus life. Excellence has a name, IPFW. Around our campus, around the country, around the world. Excellence lives here. Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. One university, two great names.
This is Arts Weekly. Arts Weekly is presented by the College of Visual and Performing Arts at IPFW, offering degrees in fine arts, music, theater, and visual communication and design. IPFW, the energy of the arts.
Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to Arts Weekly. I'm Melinda Haynes with the IPFW College of Visual and Performing Arts. Today's show is about comedy and drama, and in the second half we'll get to the comedy part. But first, I'm joined by Tom Hofrichter, Managing Artistic Director of First Presbyterian Theater. First Pres is mounting Shakespeare's classic drama, Antony and Cleopatra, beginning April 25th, and there's a lot to talk about. Tom, it's good to have you here again.
Oh, thank you for having me back.
Well, before we kind of get into the nitty-gritty of Antony and Cleopatra, I know that First Pres always does a Shakespeare play every year. Talk to me about that, why you do that.
Well, it's kind of Kate Black's fault. Back when I did my undergrad and I did my master's and I did a PhD, and I took Shakespeare every time, and he always left me cold. I was like, I think he's overrated. I don't know what's going on. And when I got here, kind of my philosophy at First Pres was, let's do the scripts by the great writers, because we are a church theater and it's talking about who we are as human beings, how do we interact, how do we connect with universal things. And Kate kept going, well, you say you want to do great theater, why don't you do Shakespeare? So after about 2 years, I thought, well, I kind of like Othello, I'll shut her up. And I did Othello. And what I realized, the reason I didn't like it in school, and it wasn't really working hard enough. Once I started digging into the text, it's amazing. The man understood everything there was to understand about being human. Whether it's jealousy, whether it's ambition, whether it's love. He understood how love is funny, how love is tragic, how love can be this maniacal thing that controls you, how it can make you happy. He just understood all the facets of humanity. So after that first experience, I thought, I think I want to do this. And so I started doing it more and more. And the more I did it, the more I fell in love with it.
Now, have you only done the dramas, or
have
you done?
I think this is 13 or 14. So we're, we've done Twelfth Night, we've done Midsummer Night's Dream, we've done As You Like It. We haven't hit Hamlet yet, but we've done, I think after Antony and Cleopatra, we will have done all the major tragedies. Actually, we haven't done Lear, but I got to play Lear for IPFW a couple of years ago, so I'm counting that.
Right.
So Lear's hard. It's hard to stage. No, we're just kind of scrolling through Shakespeare. It's always the most work for me because there's so much textual analysis you have to do. But once you understand what the words are, oh my gosh, are they fun to say.
And getting into the language the first time you read it, just because it is just so different than how we speak today.
Yes.
But once you get into that, then you read it like you're reading the newspaper.
It's like any poetry. You have to take it. You have to slow down and take it apart and make sure you understand what all the words mean. And we are talking about a language that's 400 years old. So some of the things that meant one thing then don't mean the same thing now, and words disappeared from the language and things like that.
So it's really important to have the right actors in those roles to be able to convey that meaning rather than just the words.
And I mean, because I think another reason why a lot of people, and myself was kind of cold on Shakespeare, is I'd seen a lot of productions of Shakespeare where people tried to make Shakespeare better by acting harder. Nothing is worse than watching somebody for 2 hours try to do Shakespeare where they don't fundamentally know what the language means.
Right.
The language communicates all.
If you can't interpret it, then the audience isn't going to understand.
Yeah. Antony and Cleopatra was done in 1986 by Anthony Hopkins and Judi Dench and Peter Hall. There's a book about the putting together of that. And the first thing that Peter Hall starts talking about is it's all about the words. Yeah. It's not about the emotions, it's about the words. Communicate everything through the words. And he's right, and we've been working really hard to understand the words, and I think we're headed to a good place. I think when people come to see Shakespeare at First Pres, they understand what is going on.
Well, and that's so key. I mean, I remember the first time I ever saw The Taming of the Shrew, where it really came to life for me, where you understand it and you get the jokes, and you're like, oh, you know, almost like the light comes on.
Well, and I take a bus to Stratford every year, and the other thing is I try to convince people, forgive yourselves, because when I watch Shakespeare that I'm not familiar with, I don't know every single word. I lose maybe 5–10%. But what's actually going on, the beauty of the language really does carry the play. Yeah.
Now, Antony and Cleopatra, give me not just an introduction, but tell me the plot. And
Romeo and Juliet for old people.
Okay.
I mean, in some ways,
nutshell.
once I started getting into it, because we always think of Romeo and Juliet, when most of us know that, are these wild, impetuous kids who don't think about their actions. And if they were just more mature, they would think about this love, and it wouldn't ruin their lives. Well, here we go. Historically, I think Cleopatra was 38 and Antony was around 48. There was an age difference. But they behave like like Romeo and Juliet. They both are so possessed by this love that they don't pay attention to what's going on around them, the political circumstances, the fact that each of them are leaders of the world, and they kind of ignore their jobs. And it's this the reason it's a tragedy for me is I think all of us want to have that kind of love relationship. We want that passion, but that passion destroys. And Shakespeare understood that kind of a love, I mean, it made Mark Sanford basically leave the governor's mansion and disappear to Argentina for a while. And not to pick on Republicans, it made Bill Clinton do some ridiculous things. We behave so stupidly.
And Shakespeare's capturing that.
Yes, when we have that passion. And yet all of us look at Antony and Cleopatra and in some ways are kind of envious and jealous because we want that passion in our life. But so Shakespeare understood.
Well, and who was Cleopatra? And how did she leave this legacy? What did she do?
Part of who Cleopatra is in myth. I mean, we're really not sure. We're talking about 2,000 years ago, a little over 2,000 years ago. And there's a new biography by Stacy Schiff that tries to unearth who she really was, because for the last 500 years of studying the world, when universities came back in fashion in the 1500s, what we did is we took the Roman writers and we took their word for it. Yeah. Well, the Romans had an edge to grind, a sword to grind. Yeah, axe to grind. That's the weapon I'm looking for. Because she kind of helped bring Julius Caesar down. Pompey, who was another world leader, and Mark Antony, the three great men of that time, of 30 to 50 BC, were her lovers. And Romans did not like, she ran the country. Egypt was incredibly prosperous while Rome was grinding itself into poverty with a civil war by always fighting each other. She was kicking out lots of money and she was supporting people. She was very smart about using money to set up political allegiances. It's a fascinating read, but she really was a woman, I mean, Margaret Thatcher, who just died, and we think of other women who have led strong women
leaders.
who lead countries, but I think Margaret Thatcher only like really hot too.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people think of Elizabeth Taylor in the movie, and they think, ooh, you know.
I think I'm going to have to see that movie after we open, because a lot of people have asked me that, and I really don't know. I know that it's not Shakespeare's text.
Right.
I know that it's a Hollywood movie that's probably written by a Hollywood writer, and I would bet that it probably, in some ways, Shakespeare's a little like this too. It focuses on her as kind of a sexual kitten, but I don't know. I haven't seen the movie. So.
It's just a lot of people have that image. So tell me about your actors in this show.
I have Scott Hess, who's an IPFW graduate. He, when I played Lear out here, he was Edgar, and he was Hotspur for us in Henry IV. He's a terrific young actor who I think we're getting his last Fort Wayne appearance. He's hopefully headed out to I see him up there on the screen right now. He's headed out to LA to try to make a living. Rebecca Fawdry, who has done quite a few shows for us. This is her first dip into Shakespeare, which for me is exciting. We have a lot of people who they're like, oh no, I could never do Shakespeare. It's like, yeah, come on,
give it a
help
try.
you, we'll play.
Yeah.
And after they do it once, they can't wait to do it again.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have a wonderful cast.
Well, and that set design, there were a few pictures there, very up and down and steps. I mean, tell me a little bit about how that works.
By committee, myself and I've been really lucky this year. Bob Sutton is an old friend of mine back at the Civic in 1981. Yeah. 30 plus years ago, I played Lenny to his George in Of Mice and Men. And Bob was an actor in New York for about 30 years. He came back to retire, and I got him he's now our tech director. So what we do is we get together and we start drawing, and we show each other our drawings. And I knew that Shakespeare always has dozens of locations, so you don't want to try to show them all.
Right.
You want a nice space that you can put pleasing pictures on as a director that kind of evoke a sense. And the sense we were looking for were sand dunes and tents and kind of a barrenness of Egypt.
So the up and down, the stage, the stairs, that's going to work
if
for.
you look at it, the one side is very orderly, which are the Romans, and the other side is very chaotic, which was Cleopatra's Egypt.
Well, that is going to be a wonderful production. Tell me again when it opens.
We have a preview on the 25th, and that's at 7:30, and then we play Fridays and Saturdays at 7:30 until May 11th, and we do one Sunday matinee for our plays, and that comes on the middle weekend this time, which is May the 5th.
Okay, and I think we've got all the information on the screen for
right
tickets.
to me.
So
Yep,
tickets
absolutely.
are available now. Playing
And
at
if
First
any of
Pres.
this, firstpresbyteriantheater.com, easy to remember, firstpresbyteriantheater.com. Go there and you can find out everything you need to know about our theater.
Downtown on Wayne Street.
Absolutely, right in the heart of Fort Wayne.
Well, Tom, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, I love talking to you.
While we get ready for our next segment, please take a minute to view our performance calendar of what's coming up in our area. You also can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We'll be right back with Kelly Updike of the Embassy Theater. The Embassy Theater is a beloved performance space near and dear to many people in Fort Wayne, and I'm pleased to have Kelly Updike here to tell us what's on the schedule for the next few weeks. There are several upcoming productions guaranteed to make audiences howl with laughter, including Late Night Catechism, which takes place this Saturday night, April 20th. Kelly, I am so glad you're here to tell us what's going on.
Oh, it's such an honor. Thanks for having me.
Well, you have so many things that are on the schedule. I mean, you look at the website, you're like, oh boy, I want to do all of these. But the one for this weekend, a Late Night Catechism, tell me about that. That's really a unique production.
Well, it's part of the Broadway series, and you're right, it's this Saturday, and it really is a one-woman show. So the audience becomes the catechism class, so there is audience participation.
Oh, really? Do we get to raise our hands? And,
yes, and what I've heard is that, you know, every performance is a little different because she does react and play to the audience, so that if there's someone there with a short skirt, she may whip out a ruler, and even though that may not really be in the script. Right. So the more the audience participates with her, the funnier it will be. And we've had to help with the set. It's a show that just comes in with one truck, and actually Queen of Angels School has offered anything in a classroom to us. So you know, there'll be authentic items that really will take people back who, you know, went to parochial school, and
those little desks
had to,
with the chairs attached.
Yes, and had to handle, you know, the nun as the teacher and all of that. So it's supposed to be very funny.
So and the woman who is in this, she has obviously done this for quite a while. I mean, I saw the pictures up there. She must undergo a very unique transformation. She's a beautiful actress, and then this very kind of frumpy looking nun.
And some of the tours I've heard actually have a male doing the performance.
You know, I wondered
about that. It's not what we have.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's a female. So, yeah, and she is well schooled and has been doing this a while. So it is like a one woman stand up show.
So that's in the Broadway series. What else is coming up in the Broadway series?
Rock of Ages is in May, and so we're real excited to have that because I think it's still on Broadway right now, or if it's not, it's recently gone off.
Tell me some of the details on that.
Sure. There was the movie Rock of Ages that has just come out, but it's probably the songs that you and I know really well, The Journey and all those things, songs from the 80s, and it's a love story between two young kids and how they're hoping to make it, and they sing their way through, you know, through that adventure. So it should be a really good, and it's supposed to be a really good rockin' time. So
that
I'm excited.
Sounds like a great show too.
I'm excited. I hope we get to see part of it. Yeah. So. And West Side Story is in June.
Oh, well, yeah. So that's a classic.
And that will end this season's series, and we'll be announcing, we think, in early May next season's shows. So we're excited about that.
But West Side Story, I mean, that's just pull out all the stops, and every song is wonderful.
The songs are just beautiful, aren't they?
Yeah, they really are. And so, you know, and being the Broadway series, it's a touring company, so we're seeing professionals perform all of these.
They often have their cards, and it's often a very high level of Broadway promotion that needs to happen.
That's always so exciting to see that in the theater, and it's like, wow, not only sitting in a beautiful space, but the performance is just absolutely top notch.
Well, thank you for that.
You know, one thing I want to ask you about is your SCORE program. I know that your mission is also to help educate people. So tell me a little bit about how this got started, how long you've been doing it, and what it is.
Well, when I first came to the embassy, and it's been almost 7 years ago, we didn't do a lot with education, and so it was really important for us to grow that. You know, the next generations will care for the embassy the way that we're taking care of it now, and so it will be around for another 85 years. So we really have been working hard at that, and we've started classroom field trips. We call them study trips, where it's an interactive thing, and they work with a trained educator, and they do a lot of different activities. And SCORE is a new offering that we're trying to have this summer. It's really a 3-week day camp for middle schoolers. It's grades 6 through 9, and it's July 8th through 26th. And what the kids will do is create a musical production from soup to nuts. They will write it. They will do everything that needs to happen. They will even help us market it, and work on sets and do those kinds of things. We're bringing a director in who is in Chicago, and there are 2 teachers from Southwest Allen schools who were trained in how to create an opera from the Metropolitan Opera, and they are using those techniques to work with these kids to create a production. So they will
all
actually
this takes place in the embassy,
in the
and
embassy,
the backstage,
That's-
and on
yes,
stage.
That's exactly right. And in between all that, actually, we hope to have a show or two of our, that comes in and actually is running the building. So
they
they're
can
able to see some of that
see.
going on at the same time, which I think is a really good mix of day-to-day work, professional work, and then these middle school kids coming in and working to create their own production.
So the end of it, there is actually this
Yes.
production that people can
Yes, they
come and
perform that
see.
on July 27th on the stage.
How many kids do you anticipate having in the program?
We need to have a minimum of 20, and we hope to have, it can be up to 35. So it's a
Okay.
fairly small group of people. And
people can get more information about this on your website?
on the website,
Okay.
that's right. And there's an application there, and they can even call us in the box office and let us know what questions they might have.
Is there any deadline to register, just like as it approaches?
It's mid-May. I think it's May 20th.
Oh, okay,
for
so that's
registration.
coming up. So
yes.
we need to get people
Yes,
interested.
please have them come and do this. We think it'll be great fun.
And did you say this is the first summer for
Yes.
this event?
Yes, we're trying to reach all different ages. We do the study trips that's primarily for elementary school,
Okay.
and we've actually had a lot of fun talking to other people and collaborating. The folks from FAME have been very helpful in providing with some guidance as we work to create this. When you're in middle school, sometimes there's not a lot to do in the summer.
Right.
You're kind of at that age of I don't need a babysitter anymore,
Right.
and I'm not as busy as high school. So we're hoping that will be just the right fit.
But they really do want to learn.
Absolutely, and they can do it. So that's the
right.
part that's fun.
Oh, you have another is something interesting coming up, this swing dancing event. Tell me about that.
Sure. That's on May 3rd, and a group is coming in, and for the first hour they'll do lessons in swing, and then after that everyone can dance, and it's on the theater side, so it's in the lobby. And I think that proceeds will actually go to other nonprofits in the area, so we haven't done that before, and we're really excited to do that. I think it's hard to find enough flat space for
Right.
all the dancers in the community. And
How many can be in there? Is there a limit?
Quite a few. I mean, the lobby itself will hold more than 500. I mean, it's a small historical theater lobby, but actually we're pretty big
It's pretty
in
long.
comparison to others. Yeah.
So do you come by yourself or with a partner?
I think they'll match you up if you come
If
by
you-
yourself. They'll find you somebody to dance with.
So there's
just
an
need to-
hour-long lesson, and
Yep.
who are the instructors for this?
I think they're with Arthur Murray.
Okay, and then are they
So-
the ones who then are hosting the dance then afterward? So
I think
everyone
so.
after the
yeah.
lesson, then it's like, okay, now we turn
Yeah.
on the music. And
Off you go. Yeah.
Wow. Now, your Down the Line series, that has been very, very popular. What is coming up next with
Sure,
that?
it's on May 4th. It's Down the Country Line.
Down the Country Line,
Yes,
okay.
Down the Line has been so popular, and that's classic rock, and we do that every February. And the community and our board really encouraged us to create a series. So in the wintertime, we did Hardcore, which was hard rock, and I get to do this.
Oh, yeah.
Just to embarrass
wanna
my
do it
children.
again?
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just Yeah, I still have it,
Yeah.
which I know I don't, but just by doing that.
Yeah.
And in the spring, we do Down the Country Line. And the concept is that we have local bands come and do covers of famous people, famous singers that meant something to them. So it's legends from locals, and it's that cool mix of, there's a song you know, but it might not be a band you know. And it's an all ages crowd, so often they are performing in bars, and even their own families don't get to see them. So this is a way to expose a lot of different people to the local bands in town.
That's got to be a thrill for some of them, just to be on a real stage.
Oh yes, and they take it very seriously. They're usually pretty nervous, which disturbs me. So I'm like, no,
Yeah.
we know
Don't
you're going to
be
be
nervous.
fine. Yeah, you're going to be fine. But yeah, they think of the embassy as the stage in this area, and I've heard when I've gone to other events myself, and I've seen some of these bands perform locally, that they'll mention that we were at the embassy doing Down the Line, which I think is just an awesome compliment.
Well, it's great for them to want to aspire to
Yeah.
that. Now, do you invite these bands, or can they
Yes.
audition, or what's the process?
We don't really audition them. If they'd love to be members and donors, I'm not going to hold that against them. That's just, sorry, shameless plug. But we actually cast about. We actually talk to others, music followers and that kind of thing, and try to pick groups that we try not to repeat, so that we're giving lots of different groups exposure.
And they're all local.
Yes.
You said. So
Yes, they
that's
are.
a really neat thing to be able to feature.
Yes.
You know, and your lobby itself, I mean, that is something that you rent out for all kinds of different
Yes.
Events and things like that. You know, what are some of the most popular events that you have in there?
Oh, I mean, it's all over the place, and we're heading into bridal season.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can tell you every weekend is booked in the summer. We're also, you know, having more stage shows this summer, and so we're really excited about that. You know, for me, that's a sign that the economy is getting better. Bands are touring more, and also we're a really good size house with 2,500 seats. We're not too small, and we know we're not the arena, and that's fine too. But there are a lot of groups, and we had Matchbox 20, we had the up-and-coming Avett Brothers, and those were sold-out shows.
My daughter was at the Avett Brothers, so
that was
fabulous.
Joel Harmeyer, our technical director, said 2,300 people had a religious experience that night, because that's the happiest crowd I have seen in a very long time. So we work really hard to offer a wide breadth of entertainment and cultural events, and just plain old rental space to folks.
Well, and you've got an event for the Amore. It's a bridal extravaganza.
Yes. And that's a new thing.
Is that geared toward, especially because there's so many people who do have their
event
their event there?
Yes, and the woman who's organizing it, and her name has just slipped out of my head, so I apologize, but we've not done this before. She's doing something new, and she's trying to make it an intimate experience for brides-to-be, and she's not going to have all these vendors. She's going to have very selected ones, and they're going to be able to have interviews and feedback to people who don't quite know what they want to have, but there's this wide breadth that she's offering.
Some guidance on how to make that event perfect.
Fits us, and so we're just really pleased that she's going to be in the building. So,
well, going back to Late Night Catechism this Saturday.
Yes, the 20th. 8 p.m.
8 p.m. And I think ticket information is right there on the screen.
Thanks.
Well, Kelly, it is always so great to have you here.
Pleased that you asked. Thank you.
Always. I'm Melinda Haynes with the IPFW College of Visual and Performing Arts. Please join us next time on Arts Weekly, when we'll visit with Hope Wallace from the Wassenberg Arts Center in Van Wert, and also learn about the Bach Collegium season finale May 5th at St. Peter's Catholic Church. For up-to-the-minute arts updates, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and be sure to join us here live Thursday evenings at 7:30 on PBS 39. Thank you for watching.
The preceding program on PBS 39 was made possible in part by
Excellence lives here in northeastern Indiana. It's reflected in more than 200 nationally recognized degrees. It drives our Division I sports. It's alive in our campus life. Excellence has a name, IPFW. Around our campus, around the country, around the world. Excellence lives here. Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. One university, two great names.